Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Mad Matt, back for another episode of Historical History. Today, we're going to be talking about the Desert Fox Erwin Rommel. And I would like to throw a special shout out to my man, Alejandro, for requesting a subscription to the show. So, what I like to do on this show is I like to get shit-faced wasted and talk about history. Because somewhere in my adult life, I found the most miserable fucking activity of my youth, reports, to be fun and intriguing. So, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the General Erwin Rommel. So, the Desert Fox was a senior German army officer during World War One. He was also a senior German army officer during World War II. You may remember that side as the Nazis. Rommel was a highly decorated officer in World War One and was awarded the Pied le Mérite, a Prussian medal for superior personal achievement. So I guess he did a bunch of great shit in his Kaiser Wilhelm helmet. You may know that as the one that the fucking skithead neo-Nazi bike riders wear with the point on the top. Also, probably the most kick-ass helmet in existence, because of the spike on the top. So, he was awarded this medal because of his actions in the Italian front, and during World War II he set himself apart as the commander of the 7th Panzer Division during the 1940 invasion of France, something that you guys may remember as Blitzkrieg. So Blitzkrieg was one of those things where they tested out the power of the German army by marching forward and just obliterating cities and areas by just throwing everything in the kitchen sink in that direction. And so, without sounding like a fanboy, it was one of the real offensive maneuvers that nobody was expecting. Nobody saw the Blitzkrieg coming. And when Blitzkrieg hit, it was devastating, and Erwin Rommel was a part of Blitzkrieg. His incredible leadership guiding the German and Italian forces in the North African campaign was what set him apart and got him his dope nickname. So the Desert Fox led the forces into Libya and a bunch of other places in North Africa, and he really set himself apart because he was just an excellent tank commander. And if you don't know history very well, the Panzer was one of the most menacing tanks known to man. It was huge, it was powerful, it shot, it just destroyed everything around it. And so what ended up happening is that he really just established himself as a brilliant commander, and that his strategies were truly unique, and he was really just tearing the shit out of North Africa. That being said, he was still a dick Nazi and supported Hitler, although his attitude towards the Nazi ideology and possible lack of knowledge towards the war crimes of the Reich still remain highly debated. I.e., not a lot of people can agree on whether or not he was the good guy Nazi, if there is a thing, or whether or not he was a fucking total menacing Nazi dickhead, which is probably true. However, there is a very heated debate as to whether or not that is actually true. The reason that is because of there is it's called the Ramen theory, or basically, historians don't know whether or not, because of Rommel's history, whether or not he was actually a good guy in the fact that he ran a clean war and he never did the war crimes that the Nazis propagated, or whether or not he was truly a Nazi ideologist and he knew exactly what was going on and still participated. So what was going on is that he was implicated in the July 20th plot to assassinate Hitler. And due to Rommel's status as a national hero, Hitler couldn't count on anybody at the time. So in 1944, Erwin Rommel was implicated in the July 20th plot to assassinate Hitler, and because he was a national Hitler, Hitler couldn't just murder the fuck out of him. Hitler ordered Rommel to kill himself, and in return for the promise that Hitler would not in turn murder the fuck out of Rommel's whole family. Rommel was given a state funeral, and it was announced that he had been killed in a car accident. Rommel became a sort of fucked up folk hero in an Allied and Nazi propaganda, with quite a few authors considering him to be a brilliant commander and a victim of the Third Reich. This is always mired by the belief that the Rommel myth, that the entire idea of the good German is that it was created as a propaganda of both the Allied and the Nazis to create a spirit of the new German people. Rommel's Clean War was a building block of the West German rearmament and the reconciliation between the former enemies, Britain and the United States, and the new Federal Republic of the German Order. Tonight, we're going to talk about the plot against Hitler. So, if you don't know, there was a plot. Obviously, as I've mentioned before, the July 20th attack, the attempted bombing of Hitler. Essentially, these guys set up this bomb that was supposed to go off and kill Hitler and quite a few members of his senior staff. The issue about talking about the plot of against Hitler is that it's very difficult to ascertain what Rommel's actual involvement is, because the people most directly involved did not survive their like they were all either killed or executed, and it is very limited in the very limited instances of documentation on the conspirators and their plans. They just simply don't exist, because Hitler and the SS made sure to wipe these sons of bitches from the fucking face of the earth. So, Nazis v. Nazis, the Nazis win, but that's where you get into this mired existence of the plot, and that it is not really well known whether or not Rommel was a key part of this instigation, and I'm going to get into that. So today, what I've done is I've drank in 2 40 ounces of Mickey's malt liquor, because it's excellent, and I'm drinking a half a bottle of vodka. So we are doing this to the best of our abilities, as is the credo of historical history. So basically, the best proof that is that the General Eberbach's confession to his son while in British captivity, and he stated it explicitly. Rommel said to him that Hitler must be killed because it's the only way out for Germany. At this point, Rommel is like super hardcore to the fact that we were gonna kick the shit out of the Germans, like it was an inevitability, like there was no chance that the Germans were gonna win. And Rommel, being the commander that he was, saw this and said, we can't win. Well, there's no way we can win. We have to back out of this shit. We have to make allies with the West, and we have to make agreements with both the British and the Americans. And it was a very unpopular belief among the Nazi Reich, because the Nazis were still in the belief that they could win. Whereas Rommel said, basically, multiple times in very many letters to Hitler himself, that they were not going to win. And because of the SS involvement, there was a protocol where like several things had to be cut through several checks and balances in the Nazi Reich, that his letters were not getting to Hitler before a month or two after he was actually writing them. So what was going on is that there was this basic conglomerate of German people who believed that the Nazi Reich was not correct, and they were doing bad things, and they wanted out of it, because, contrast to popular belief, there were several Germans and a large populace of the German population that said that this was not a thing that they should be doing. They believed that Hitler was truly out of his fucking mind, and that they were not doing the correct the correct things by the people. So here's where we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of the whole thing, right? He was basically outed because he didn't believe that the German people could win this war. So basically, he was outed, or the best proof that the General Eichenbach's confession was a thing was because it was 1 month before Rommel was told by Hitler to basically RKO himself out of nowhere. So there was there in the most flip-flop story ever, Karl Strolin, who was a big World War I friend of Rommel, began the chat to get him involved in the anti-Hitler conspiracy. Problem is that Rommel didn't believe, like, he wasn't all gung-ho about the Hitler murder at first. He was sure that killing Hitler would invoke a civil war within Germany. Oh, please no. God, no. Not another war inside our war. Not warception. That could be the worst. What could possibly be worse than this? Maybe the Holocaust, you fucking Nazi fuckhead. Anywho, eventually Rommel changed his mind. At first, he believed that Hitler could be arrested and tried for his crimes. Then, everyone figured that idea was stupid as fuck. He eventually changed his mind to the fact that he knew Hitler had to be taken out. He was known. He knew this because he was the commander of Hitler's security forces in 1939. This was going on. Rommel literally begging Hitler to stop the war. His idea that there was no possibility that they could win, to which history showed was pretty fucking accurate. He didn't actually try to kill Hitler, but he didn't try to stop anyone either. After the failed bombing of the 20th and July, under the considerable torture of several men, they named Rommel as a conspirator. So, what goes down is that the SS surround the town and give Rommel 3 options. Death by kangaroo court. Essentially, there was this SS court that basically said anybody who was going to go in was going to be executed. Basically, everyone who ever went to the kangaroo court was going to be murdered as a traitor to the Nazi Reich. And it was true. Like, they were gonna fucking murder the fuck out of everybody. So he was given an option: death by kangaroo court, go to Berlin and appeal to Hitler, i.e., get fucked and die before you get there, or eat this cyanide capsule and die in an accident. So Rommel mulls this shit over and decides that he's gonna eat the capsule. And what ends up happening is he decides to talk to his wife and kid and explain what he's doing. And wearing his Afrika Korps jacket and his field marshal's baton, he eats the pill and dies. He's buried with full honors and gets the military pension for his wife and son. So what do you think? Was Rommel a fuckhead Nazi, or a fuckhead Nazi who conspired to kill Hitler? This has been Historical History with Mad Matt, and I hope to see you guys again sometime.